So earlier last month, Guillaume Broche, director of the highly acclaimed Expedition 33, made a statement regarding the prejudiced turn-based RPGs phase, which made the rounds on the internet, causing many people to draw a connection between his comment and that of Yoshi-P's a couple of years ago. And while the crux of both men's comments is different, they do dovetail, and I want to touch upon that intersection. As an avid role-playing gamer and someone who has been gaming since the late 90s, I can tell you right now that JRPG was not a thing back then. The term, the abbreviation, the denotation JRPG did not exist. We simply referred to RPGs with an anime aesthetic from Japan that are on consoles as RPGs. If we wanted to be specific about the origin of these games, we'd say RPG from Japan, or a Japanese RPG, or something along those lines. Now, if we are talking about an RPG denotation that was used for a major RPG category back then, not a subgenre like SRPG or ARPG, it was CRPG for computer RPGs, which was home to pretty much the majority of Western RPGs at the time. And for the few WRPGs that made their way to consoles, like the Summoner series, we just called them something like an American RPG. And this was pretty much the case till, as Bosch pointed out, the launch of the Xbox 360. That said, he was a bit off about it being due to open world games that began the decline of JRPG or turn-based popularity. It was Western RPGs finally making their way to consoles en masse, and the fans that came with them. This is where Yoshi-P's gripe begins, because the term JRPG was engendered at this junction. Due to the influx of Western RPGs like Mass Effect, Fable, Oblivion, and others finally making their way to consoles, instead of just remaining on computers as it was in the 90s and early 2000s, people needed a way to differentiate these RPGs from the ones from Japan. And a combination of xenophobia and elitism in the hardcore Western RPG fans made the term stick. Like, I know many JRPG fans on some level realize that Western gamers in general aren't too keen on JRPGs, but I don't think many of you guys grasp the level of antipathy hardcore Western RPG fans have towards them. Even to this day, many Western RPG fans and their developers harbor a strong disdain for JRPGs, as they find them too far removed from the roots of D&D and other TTRPGs. So, the term JRPG wouldn't have been enough to take these games down in popularity, but right at the same time as WRPGs were finally making their way to the major consoles, so too did we see a decline of JRPGs in quantity and quality from these consoles. As we all know, the PS3 was notorious for being difficult to develop for, and many JRPG studios struggled to create games for the platform, ultimately leading to their demise. Meanwhile, the install base in Japan for the 360 was too low for these studios to waste resources developing games for it. So not only did WRPGs muscle their way onto the two most prominent consoles at the time, but JRPGs were also faltering. You then factor in how the emblematic JRPG series, Final Fantasy's first mainline title to be developed on 7th generation consoles, FF13, bombed with audiences, and faith in JRPGs fell even further into disrepute. Okay, like, if we're talking about the JRPG series that defined the 7th generation, that had many releases, sequels, and spin-offs, which series comes to mind? Certainly wasn't Final Fantasy, as we've established. Tales gets a bit close, and Trails, despite its current popularity, was first released in the West in 2011. So, which JRPG series was the most proliferated during this time? The Neptunia games. Yeah, you guys, the Neptunia series was the JRPG series of the 7th generation, and what so many non-JRPG fans saw the most frequently on gaming shelves and associate with the genre during that time period, right when, again, the term came into existence, and when WRPGs were outpacing and outperforming JRPGs. Basically, just as the switch from the denotation RPGs to JRPGs was occurring, so too was the fall, decline, death, what have you, of JRPGs taking place, and so the addition of the J to RPGs from Japan became synonymous with Westerners disparaging and shitting on Japanese RPGs in general, which, to be fair, was happening in some circles, thus consternating Yoshi-P and other JRPG devs. Then he tossed in how the majority of JRPGs were turn-based, which was maligned by both casual Western gamers and the elitist Western role-playing gamers, because the former envisioned slow, boring battles where characters just stand around waiting for their turn when they hear the term, while the latter thought that JRPG mechanics weren't as deep or as robust as their beloved WRPGs. Mind you, all this occurred during the 2006 to 2010 timeframe. Then in 2011, Skyrim was released to critical and commercial success, fully popularizing the open world genre and taking down traditional turn-based console JRPGs for a considerable amount of time. Of course, for us real JRPG lovers, we realized that consoles weren't the home for JRPGs in the 7th generation. It was handhelds, while casual gamers based their entire outlook on the genre on the two big consoles, the PSP, DS, and eventually the Wii, were where JRPGs thrived. So yeah, these were just some of the more prominent reasons why JRPGs and turn-based combat fell out of favor in the West, how the term JRPG came to be, and why it felt like such a sudden shift for JRPG devs to be beloved in one era to be maligned in the next.